Hello, this is Sabrina Alery with a video tutorial for Clearsnap, and today I wanted to share a technique with you that I'm calling double-sided stenciling. This is a pretty simple technique, but it utilizes both sides of the stencil, so you can get both that negative and the positive area of the stencil on your design. And to demonstrate this technique, I'm using some of our Colorbox Spritzers, dyes, ink sprays, and then our pigment inks along with Smooch Spritz. I'll also be using the art wheel, some ink daubers, and our exotic molding mat. I'm using that as a stamp. Alright, let's get started. I'm working in my color catcher here to keep from making a mess on my space, and then we're using the Blossom art screen. I wanted to show you this jumbled art screen to be certain that when you're spraying here that we're using the reverse side, if your stencil has a reverse side. I'm spraying Deep Grape, the Colorbox Spritzer line. These are the archival dye ink sprays that coordinate with the stamp pads, the archival dye stamp pads, and I'm just spritzing up the entire reverse side of my art screen. I'm going to place that down here on a scratch pad, on my example paper, and I'm using a tweezer to keep my fingers fairly clean. You can use a piece of paper towel if you have a delicate art screen like this Blossom stencil, and that's just going to help pick up any color that has snuck through to the back side of the stencil. We don't want that there. The next step is we're going to be applying some pigment ink. I'm starting with the Cupid Colorbox pigment ink, and I am applying that with an art dauber. Just going to blend that color right into the negative area of the stencil. I think it's important when you're stenciling or trying out this technique that also has the wet spray still on your paper, that you use a medium other than the ink pad to apply the ink. That's going to help your ink pad from getting dirty, but also it will keep your ink pad from breaking away from that plastic bottom. So the art daubers are a great solution for that. We'll also be applying the plum shade of Colorbox pigment ink, and this is a brand new release shade just this year. We're going to just fill in the edges of the design. I really love how easily the pigment ink blends. You can just blend those shades very seamlessly into each other, and the art dauber makes that even more simple. One final step to finish out your design. You can leave it like this. I am going to be spraying some Smooch Spritz and Vanilla Shimmer, and that's really going to help highlight the two negative and positive areas of the stencil. You're just going to get that shimmer. Let's pop it up and take a look. Alright, very pretty. One more variation of this technique. I'm using the Crooked art screen. We're going to be spritzing that up with the Colorbox Spritzers in Moody Blue. Spray the whole back side, and then this time I'm going to be adding some shimmer to the positive area of my design, so I'm spraying that right directly onto the stencil. Let me grab my paper here, and we're going to position this down. It can be a little tricky to get your ink exactly where you want it, but don't worry, this technique definitely does not have to be perfect. I think working with spray inks in general, you don't ever have to be perfect. You can use the art wheel here to help press the color down, and you can make sure that you get more of the color off of the art screen. It's going to help with that. And then we are going to be applying our shades of blue and green ink into these stripes here. I'm working with Spa and Emerald, which are two brand new shades, again, of the Colorbox pigment ink, also released this year. And then we're going with Turquoise, which is a nice in-between shade of pigment ink between the Spa and the Emerald. I'm just blending that right into the negative area on the stencil. Another thing about the art daubers, they're a foam pad that help you blend the color, but you can, when you use them with a pigment ink, you'll find that days and even weeks after you've used the art dauber in a pigment ink, that it will still be wet with the pigment ink. And for that reason, I definitely recommend having an art dauber for each shade of ink. I mean, ideally it would be great to have one for every color of ink, but if you have one for blue, one for green, one for pink, one for purple, etc., you will be just fine. Alright, So again, with the emerald ink, I'm using the exotic molding mat. Now you can apply this to a stamp pad to do your stamping, but I'm finding that I can just press it into the negative area of the stencils and really press it down there with my fingers to make sure that the image transfers. Sometimes those, the thin plastic can get in the way of your stamp design transferring completely. I like that I can use my fingers here. Alright, now let's pull the stencil up and see what we've created. Thank you so much for joining me today. For more ideas, inspiration, and for product information, please visit www.clearsnap.com.